In my book, Don't Panic, We Can Save the Planet, I have a chapter called Diverse Thinking. It says this: in the same way that we need different types of plants and animals to make resilient ecosystems, we are also much stronger as a civilization if we have a diversity of people, especially when it comes to how people think. Climate change is happening because too many people have been doing too many wrong things for far too long. Dumping tons of plastic rubbish, feeding ourselves with billions of methane-farting cows, boiling our earth with fossil fuels, and much, much more. We need to change our ways and think up new ways of living if we're going to get out of this mess. Many planet-saving heroes are folks who thought outside the box and started doing something different. People with different backgrounds, different skills, and different creative solutions to the climate crisis. Take Greta Thunberg, for example. When she started her school strikes, she was very young. She is also autistic, has obsessive-compulsive disorder, and selective mutism. She wasn't the typical person to be speaking out about the climate crisis, but she noticed it was a threat to her future, and that not enough was being done about it. So she began protesting, and people began to listen. Greta is neurodiverse. This means she thinks differently to people who are neurotypical. Most people are neurotypical, which means they tend to think in a similar way. The video we're watching now is of my son Joe. It was made a couple of years ago during the pandemic, so he's a good foot taller now than you can see here. Joe is autistic. He has a non-typical brain. We made this video as part of an Arts Council funded project to showcase the artistic talents of neurodivergent young people. I had noticed that whenever I took Joe swimming, he would develop circuits. He still does. At Felixstowe Leisure Centre, for example, he starts off by climbing the steps to the slide, he goes down the slide, then gets out of the pool and walks to the swimming lane. He climbs in and then walks as far as he can before he's out of his depth. He then swims the last bit, climbs out the steps, walks to the other side of the pool and jumps in at the deep end. He swims to the side, gets out and queues up again for the slide. He does this again and again and again until it's time to go home. During lockdown, we were fortunate enough to hire our local teaching pool for a private family swim. It was a glorious thing to do, and I watched as Joe gathered all the toys in the building and created what I could only call an artistic installation on a floating mat. He spent hours doing this. I'm a big fan of conceptual artists like Marina Abramovich, and it occurred to me that if she were repeatedly doing a circuit of a swimming pool with a straight face and without saying a word, it would be considered art. If an artist were to create something in a swimming pool like Joe does, the film of it might end up in a gallery. So, what if we saw the activities of autistic young people as art? That's why we made this film. And I don't know what you think, but I think what he is doing here is beautiful. There are probably people in your class or family who are neurodiverse or have different and interesting ways of thinking to you. Maybe you should ask them what they think of the climate crisis, or maybe you yourself are neurodiverse. If so, have a think about it when you have the time. You might have an idea no one has ever thought of before. When facing the threat of the climate crisis, we all need to use our collective wisdom to find different ways of seeing the world and tackling what's going wrong with it. Then, maybe, together, we'll be able to save the planet.